Chapter 4, Training Days. After classes. Training field, Konohagakure Shinobi Academy. It was a rather pouting Naruto who stood in front of Iruka after the academy was over for the day. He didn't like the fact that he had been punished for something that Mizuki-sensei had done. Why the pout, Naruto? Iruka asked. It was Mizuki-sensei who pushed the vase over and broke it. Naruto grumbled, it almost brained me, TT Ibeo. Iruka smiled. I know Naruto, but I just needed the excuse to put you in detention, so I could train you in the Bunshin no Jutsu alternatives, as authorized by Hokage-sama. This cheered Naruto up immensely. Yada, I knew Gigi would come through for me. Naruto, you should show the Hokage more respect than that. Iruka chided him mildly. He's been my Gigi to me longer than he's been the Hokage. Naruto replied, he was the old man in a funny hat that helped me out when the orphanage got tough on me. It's kinda hard to break the habit. Besides, I think he likes being called Gigi. Iruka conceded both of Naruto's points. If the Hokage wanted to make Naruto stop calling him Gigi, he would have done so a long time ago. Okay, moving on to the lesson, Iruka reached into a pocket on his Chunin's vest and pulled out a small square of paper, which he then handed to Naruto. What's this? Naruto asked as he inspected the paper dubiously. This, my student, is chakra paper. Iruka replied as he went into lecture mode. As you may remember from your classes, a shinobi can use all kinds of ninjutsu, but with the elemental ninjutsu, most shinobi tend to have elemental affinities. This means that there are jutsu you will naturally find easier to use and consume less chakra to use. Okay, cool. Naruto commented. So, what does this have to do with my problem with the Bunshin no Jutsu? I'm getting to that. Iruka replied, there are a considerable number of Bunshin no Jutsu in the world, of which the illusory Bunshin is the least useful, but easiest to learn, for most people. More chakra-intensive clone techniques exist, of which the most basic are elemental clones, the Mizu Bunshin and Iwa Bunshin. If your affinity matches up, I'll teach you how to use them. Alright, what do I do, Iruka-sensei? Naruto asked excitedly. Finally, a way for him to learn a clone jutsu that didn't come out looking like he was dying. Channel chakra a small amount only, into the paper. Iruka directed him, if it crinkles, you are a lightning affinity. If it gets wet, you are a water affinity. If it crumbles, you are an earth affinity. If it catches fire, you are a fire affinity, and if it is cut, you have a wind affinity. Yosha, let's go. Naruto declared and then carefully channeled some of his chakra into the strip of paper, which did two things. First, it cut in half, and then both halves crumbled slightly. A primary wind affinity, with a weak earth sub-affinity. Iruka said with a nod, a good combination of elements. Why's that, Iruka-sensei? Naruto asked. Wind is a rare element in Konoha. Heck, it's a rare element in the entire world. Iruka explained, it is known as the war element as it is able to attack and defend with equal ease, at the same time even. The downside is that it takes a lot of training to master this element. That sounds kick-ass. Naruto said excitedly. It is, rather. Iruka replied with a smile. Earth, on the other hand, offers incredible defensive capabilities, allowing you to reshape the landscape to suit you, set traps hidden beneath the surface and even some pretty nice offensive techniques as well. It is also one of the easiest elements to learn. Why's that? Naruto asked with a confused look on his face. Earth is solid, unchanging and only moves slowly. Iruka explained, it doesn't change much by nature and is thus easy to control. Wind is constantly shifting, changing and taking different forms, which is why it is so hard to use. Huh, I've never thought about it like that. Naruto remarked, anyway, I have an earth affinity, so are you gonna teach me the Iwa Bunshin? Yep. Iruka nodded, now let's see, what the? He began searching his pockets and pouches for something before sighing in exasperation. Somehow, I seem to have misplaced the scroll for the Iwa Bunshin no Jutsu. Iruka said in resignation, I'll have to go off to the shinobi section of the library and see if I left it there. While I'm gone, you can learn the tree climbing exercise. How will climbing trees help me? Naruto asked in confusion. Without your hands. Watch. Iruka went over to the academy building and made the ram hand sign before, much to Naruto's amazement, walking straight up the wall to the top of the building and back down to the ground. So cool. Naruto exclaimed, his eyes shining in amazement. Learning tree climbing is one of the things that your Jonin-sensei usually teaches you after graduation, as Tenten said. Iruka went into lecture mode again. Your feet are the hardest part of your body to channel chakra to, and so if you can channel chakra there, you can channel chakra anywhere on your body. In addition, it slightly builds your reserves up while doing it. Iruka led Naruto to a tree and passed him a kunai. Climb one of these trees and use the kunai to mark your progress. The scar-faced Chunin directed his student, keep your mind clear and do not get frustrated. As I taught you with sealing items in scrolls, experiment with how much chakra to use on each foot. Too little and you'll slide off, too much and you'll be pushed away from the tree. Gotcha, Iruka-sensei. Naruto nodded with a grin. With a final admonishment to work hard, Iruka vanished in a puff of chakra smoke. Now then, Naruto turned his attention to the skill creation windows he had been ignoring while Iruka-sensei had been talking to him. Skill created. Natural primary wind affinity passive LV1, 00.00 EXP. The affinity of wind is rare in the elemental nations, although more are born in K's no Kuni than anywhere else. Even those who possess the affinity rarely train it because of the sheer difficulty in mastering it compared to other elements. For those with the determination and perseverance to master it, however, the wind element can be a weapon of unparalleled power and subtlety. Strong against lightning, weak against fire. Passively reduces the amount of chakra for Futon Jutsu by 1%. Passively increases the effectiveness of Futon Jutsu by 1%. Skill created. Secondary Earth Affinity Passive LV1, 00.00 EXP. Earth affinities are not uncommon in the elemental nations, although Ishi no Kuni and Tsuchi no Kuni are the ones who have more born there than any other country. Earth ninjutsu is seen as primarily an element of defense, but in the right hands one can make traps, launch counterattacks and even alter the landscape itself. Strong against fire, water. Weak against lightning, wind. Passively decreases the chakra cost of Dodenjutsu by 1%. Passively increases the effectiveness of Dodenjutsu by 1%. Kick ass. Naruto smirked before spotting the quest window that floated to one side. Quest alert. Climb to the top. Uruka-sensei has given you the task of attempting the tree climbing exercise. Do your best to fulfill his expectations. Quest objective. Reach level 2 of the tree climbing exercise before Uruka-sensei returns. Quest completion reward. Plus 500 express. Doden. Iwa Bunshin no Jutsu scroll. Plus 100 reputation with Yumi no Uruka. Quest failure. Doden. Iwa Bunshin no Jutsu. Scroll. Accept. Y.N. Another quest that I can't ignore. Meh. Naruto shrugged as he tapped the Y button. He was going to do this anyway, so the reward was just icing on the cake. Placing one foot on the nearest tree, Naruto made the ram hand sign as Uruka-sensei had done and started channeling a trickle of chakra to his foot, which actually seemed to resist the energy. Gradually and carefully raising the amount of chakra he sent into his foot, he stopped when his foot adhered to the tree bark. Okay, that's about a quarter of what I use for my improved version of the Henge no Jutsu. Now for the other foot, Naruto thought. Quickly reproducing the same amount of chakra in his other foot before placing it on the tree, Naruto then started running up the tree, only to fall off after 2 steps. What the hell? Naruto yelped as he fell on his butt, damn it. Let's try that again. It took more than a few false starts, but eventually, Naruto managed to run up the tree for a few steps before falling down again. After a few repetitions of this, he finally created the skill. Skill created. As a result of repeated actions, you have created the tree climbing skill. Tree climbing passive active LV1, 23.99. The tree climbing exercise is one of the first chakra control exercises a fresh genin learns after graduation from the academy. Fulfilling several roles, this training exercise is the forerunner of the more difficult water walking exercise, as well as laying the foundation for the tree jumping skill. Passively increases chakra control by 1%. Passively raises CP by 1%. Actively allows the user to stick to any solid surface that is not a chakra repellent. Costs 15 CP per minute. Yada. Naruto cheered, now to start building this skill up. Apparently, Uruka-sensei wasn't kidding about negative feelings dragging him down. What he had neglected to tell Naruto was that feeling confident actually helped him do better at it. The blonde orphan was giving thanks that, for whatever reason, he had monstrous stamina. Stamina 35 for the win. Naruto thought as he finally managed to get halfway up the tree. He noted the half a dozen or so windows that floated around him all bearing similar messages. Feel the burn the feeling. Your STR had gone up by 1. Keep on keeping on. Your STA has gone up by 1. 3 each, so his already impressive STA was at 38 now, while his STR was at about 18 or 19. At this rate, he would go all the way up to STA 40 before he leveled up. Speaking of which, tree climbing has leveled up. Level 1 to 2. Hell yeah. Naruto grinned, let's see how far I can get it before Uruka-sensei gets back. This was typical of Naruto. He saw people who did just enough and no more than that as boring, unambitious, idiots. When he had the choice, he always tried to exceed expectations. When Uruka shunshined back into the clearing, Naruto was still going strong and had just managed to get to level 3 in tree climbing. Naruto, you can stop now. Uruka called in amusement. He could tell that the excitable boy hadn't stopped since he had started, yet he was barely winded. How'd I do? Naruto asked with a slight bit of smugness as he waltzed down the tree, only slipping part of the way down. Not bad for an hour's work. Uruka said approvingly, sorry it took so long, somebody tried to book out all the copies of the Iwa Bunshin no Jutsu and I had to mete out some educational guidance to sort things out. Naruto shivered at the cold tone that his favorite teacher had taken. If he had to guess, the boy would say that whoever had gotten on Uruka's bad side, not something Naruto had ever aspired to do. Well, at least you managed to get a copy. Naruto said with a cheerfulness he didn't really feel. Someone was trying to get in his way, again. How the hell did these people get their information? He had only asked Uruka-sensei about an alternative to the Bunshin yesterday. I did. Here you go Naruto. Uruka handed him a scroll that was lined with brown lines. Congratulations. Climb to the top. Quest completed. You have successfully reached level 2 of tree climbing before Uruka returned. Quest completion reward. Plus 500 XP. Doden. Iwa Bunshin no Jutsu. Scroll. Plus 100 reputation with Yumi no Uruka. Naruto subtly closed the window as he grinned at the scroll. He was just about to open it when an Anbu wearing a cat mask shunshined into the training field in a swirl of leaves. Uzumaki Naruto, the Hokage requests your presence at once. The masked shinobi stated, please accompany me to the Hokage tower. In the middle of after-school detention, Uruka asked with a frown, Hokage-sama arranged the materials to be taught here himself. What could need Naruto's immediate presence, Neko-san? I am sorry, Yumino-san, but something disturbing has occurred that requires Uzumaki-san's presence. The Anbu replied, rest assured, it will not take long to resolve, but it does require haste to do so. Okay then. Uruka sighed, off you go with Neko-san. Naruto nodded and walked over to the Anbu, who grabbed his shoulder and vanished with him in another swirl of leaves. The feeling of being carried along in a shunshin was, surprisingly unpleasant. Naruto felt himself move at fast speeds, faster than he could run, and he developed tunnel vision from that. By the time he and the Anbu materialized in front of the Hokage tower, he had made a note to work on his awareness so that didn't happen again. Are you alright, Uzumaki-san? Neko asked, side-along shunshins are more turbulent than regular ones. Yeah, I'm good. Naruto replied as his stomach churned slightly. I think I'll walk next time though. Understandable. Neko nodded. Now, let's get you to Hokage-sama. In the Hokage's office, Sarutobi Hiruzen rubbed his eyes tiredly as he waited for Naruto to show up. This would not be a pleasant talk for the boy. Sitting in a pair of chairs were members of the Konoha regular police, the only police force left in Konoha after the Uchiha massacre. Made up of civilians with bare bones training in subduing other civilians, they had been overshadowed by the Uchiha military police and had tried to replace them, only to be shot down rather firmly by Sarutobi. Several, prominent and concerned citizens pretty much controlled the regular police, and he knew that almost all of them hated Naruto for what he carried within him. Today was merely another expression of that hatred. Gigi. Naruto called as he entered, ready to turn the hat over to me yet. Oh ho ho ho. Sarutobi chuckled. Sadly no, Naruto-kun. Take a seat. These two gentlemen have some unpleasant news for you. Naruto threw a quizzical look at the two men as he sat down. They were very ordinary-looking people, utterly forgettable faces, average height and the like. They wore the brown and green uniforms of the regular police and carried the jute of their rank from a hoop on their belts. Uzumaki-san, one of the officers said, a badly concealed sneer concealed in his words, I regret to inform you that someone has broken into your apartment and vandalized it. Again, Naruto sighed, how badly vandalized is it? Every piece of furniture has been smashed to kindling, every wall has rude expletives carved or painted onto their surfaces, all books and scrolls have been urinated upon and every door and window in the apartment has been smashed as well. The other man recited, whoever carried this out was very thorough. Ah man, Naruto groaned, my landlord is gonna be pissed at me for this. Indeed he is, Uzumaki-san, the first man said. He pulled a piece of paper from his pouch and handed it to Naruto. This is a notice of eviction from your landlord, effective immediately. What? Naruto yelped, ah man. Naruto-kun, do you have your wallet? Sarutobi asked, the police claim it wasn't in the wreckage. Gama-chan never goes more than a hand's length away from me. Naruto said as he pulled the toad design wallet from his pocket. Good. That's something at least. Sarutobi nodded before turning his attention to the policeman. Find out who did this or I'll have a new military police force set up within the next month. Understood. Hi, Hokage-sama. The apparent senior man replied shakily before leading his fellow policeman out of the door. Almost immediately, Naruto's cheerful facade sagged slightly as he leaned back in the chair with another sigh. I'll have to go back to the apartment to check if my hidden stash of books and scrolls is among the ruined books, he grumbled. Neko, go to Naruto-kun's former apartment and search it for any hidden books or scrolls. Sarutobi ordered, if you can, try and determine how many people conducted such disgraceful actions against Naruto-kun. Hi, Hokage-sama. I'll depart at once. Neko replied from her hidden position, making Naruto start. He hadn't noticed her entering the room at all. Mentally, he upped his respect for Anbu-level stealth techniques. Now then Naruto-kun, this presents me with something of a dilemma, as all rentable accommodations in Konoha have registered a disinclination to rent property to prospective tenants who are victims of a campaign of vandalism and discrimination. Sarutobi said with a sigh. The actual phrasing of the landlord's union was, that demon brat isn't getting into our houses, but Sarutobi saw no reason to tell this to Naruto. I can always camp out, Gigi. Naruto suggested, it would be good practice for fieldwork once I graduate. Sarutobi blinked at that. Naruto did make a good point, but he was not about to send his surrogate grandson out to a field to pitch a tent if he had any say in the matter. An admirable suggestion Naruto-kun, but I believe several of my Anbu would object to such an arrangement, as well as myself. Sarutobi replied diffidently, as it so happens, there is a block of apartments in my possession that is suited to your needs, but it has not been lived in a considerable length of time, so it will have to be cleaned first. Whereabouts is it? Naruto asked. It's on the edge of the clan district. Sarutobi replied. Oh, you mean the former Anbu HQ. Naruto nodded, prompting three jaws to drop in reaction as Sarutobi and the two remaining Anbu took this in. Naruto-kun, do tell how you know that. Sarutobi asked carefully once he had reattached his jaw. It was a secret. Naruto raised an eyebrow in surprise. Most people in Konoha can tell where Anbu HQ is by the large amount of suspiciously polite, but firm guards saying, private residence only, to anybody who goes close to the building despite the apartments for rent sign outside the door. Sarutobi felt like bashing his head against the oaken surface of his desk at this. I'll have a word with Anbu Commander Saru about a less obvious cover story. To return to the point, will that building suffice for you? Wait, I get the run of the building. Naruto asked. As nobody lives there, not even a building supervisor, yes. Sarutobi replied, I have a cleaning crew making the building habitable as we speak, but it will not be ready for a couple of hours. Oh, okay. Naruto nodded, that gives me time to learn the Iwa Bunshin no Jutsu. So you have an earth affinity? The old man inquired. I'm actually a primary wind affinity, sub-earth affinity. Naruto replied. A good pair of elements. Sarutobi approved. Haruka-kun told me you were thinking about buying weapons after graduation? Yeah, a pair of Tanto and a Kodachi. Naruto replied, it's going to cost a lot to buy them though. I just hope I'm not on the same team as Sasuke Teme after graduation. Oh, Sarutobi invited Naruto to continue. Sasuke Teme doesn't like me much and I don't really like him all that much either. Naruto explained, and if we're on the same team, we won't get along very well, meaning our Jonin-sensei will probably stick to D ranks until we get out teamwork up to scratch, which is to say, never, so it'll take forever to save up enough to buy a half-decent set of weapons. The Hokage nodded in acknowledgement of his surrogate grandson's point. Teamwork was strongly emphasized throughout the entirety of the academy and Naruto was far from stupid. He was a bit slow on the uptake sometimes, but he was more than able to put two and two together. The sad thing was that, regardless of academic standings, Naruto was highly likely to be put on the same team as Sasuke. The Ino Shikacho were to be reformed in this generation by the three clan heirs. A tracking team was to be formed comprised of the heirs of the Hyuga, Aburame and Inuzuka, leaving Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura and Naruto as a heavy assault team. No other teams were expected to pass the real Genin test. We'll see how things pan out at graduation, the Hokage said aloud. Things are not set in stone as of yet, so do your best and I will be willing to hear who you would like to be teamed up with, as well as the reasons why. Naruto looked confused. Sarutobi decided to elaborate. When graduation rolls around, the academy sensei sends me a list of proposed teams based on compatible abilities and skills. I am also required to consider requests from the parents of students for specific team assignments, he explained. I then gather the Jonin sensei and I have to hear requests from them for specific students they might wish to have included on their teams. The entire thing is then a question of compromise between academy scores, parental requests, the Jonin sensei requests as well as reality. Reality. Naruto frowned. Do you know a tradition about what happens with the rookie of the year, top kunoichi and dead last? Sarutobi asked. They're put on a team. Naruto scowled. I'm the Dobi, Sakura-chan is the top kunoichi and Sasuke Tem is the rookie of the year. How did you find out about that? The old man asked curiously. It wasn't exactly a secret per se, but it was usually concealed from academy students so they couldn't fudge their scores to get on or off a specific team. I heard about it. Naruto shrugged. The civilians were talking about who, Uchiha-sama, would be teamed up with. Not for the first time, the Sandaime felt like throttling the civilians who had loose lips. Well then, now that you know about it, let us explore the reason for it. The Hokage sighed. The original reason the tradition was started was so that the two students who excelled could help bring up the skills of the dead last. Over the years, it was instituted as a immutable facet of the graduation process, which is a ridiculous thing to do. I can see why it was done the first time, but why as it made a permanent arrangement? Naruto frowned as he considered it. Because it proved to be an effective setup, at first anyway. Sarutobi replied, the first dozen years produced very good shinobi that went on to advance to Chunin and then Jonin. After that, the wars interfered. People died too soon, before they had a chance to prove themselves or learn more. The entire system was ultimately proven to work, by me. Naruto looked confused. My students, Orochimaru, Tsunade and Jiraiya, the so-called Densetsu no Sannin were the most powerful shinobi of their generation. Sarutobi explained, they were strong enough, together, to hold off Sanshou no Hanzo the Salamander, and S-rank shinobi from a Megakure once they reached Jonin. Whenever I try to abolish the tradition, the academy points to them as a defense against it, despite Orochimaru's subsequent descent into insanity and betrayal. Wow, the look of amazement on Naruto's face was utterly unfeigned. To apply reality to this situation, it is very rare that three shinobi of such potential are put on the same team, so it is actually a very silly tradition to keep up. Sarutobi continued, moreover, you and Sasuke do not get along. What about Haruno Sakura? What do you think will happen if she is added to the mix as she is now? Naruto knew he was being asked for an honest opinion of her, leaving his crush. Aside, Sakura-chan will likely fangirl over Sasuke and put me down, hoping to gain Sasuke's approval, he said reluctantly. He liked Sakura, but knew how she would act. He wasn't blind to her faults. I agree that it's a likely scenario. Sarutobi nodded. Now think about how teamwork will suffer with that kind of group dynamic. Not a pleasant scenario, is it? I have got to get my grades up. Naruto moaned. On occasion, the grade angle is ignored in favor of balance. Sarutobi sighed. You may not have noticed, but it is rare that the rookie of the year, top kunoichi and dead last are wholly of shinobi or civilian origin. Still, the consensus is to group those from shinobi clans together as they are generally superior to those from civilian families. There are exceptions, such as Jiraiya, Higurashi Tenten and Rock Lee. I've met Tenten. Naruto nodded. She did mention someone called Lee. Isn't he the one who was given an exemption to graduate despite the fact he can't use nin or genjutsu? Sarutobi noticed the slightly bitter way Naruto said that and internally winced. Aloud he said, yes. He is an exceptional taijutsu user, just as Tenten is well on her way to being an expert weapon mistress, with nigh unparalleled skill with shurikenjutsu. Jiraiya is one of the most powerful shinobi on active duty at the moment and was the person who taught the Yondaime Hokage all he knew. So you see, there is no bias against civilians in Konoha, just a bias against anyone who doesn't pull their own weight. I see. Naruto didn't understand everything, but he gathered the fact that his Gigi was giving him a lesson and strove to try and understand it. What are you suggesting, Gigi? As she is right now, Haruno Sakura is a genjutsu med-nin candidate. Sarutobi sighed, that is, if she lives past her first C rank, which is unlikely at the moment. Reading between the lines of the academy reports, her taijutsu is just barely sufficient, her shurikenjutsu is adequate and her skill with genjutsu is impressive. Her chakra reserves are small and she continues to diet, reducing her physical energy compared to her mental energy. This also means she tires easily and thus cannot train for extended periods of time. Naruto was taken aback. Why was the Hokage sharing this with him? Because I have a solution to this problem and I need your help to execute it. The Hokage replied when he voiced this question. Despite her current issues, Haruno Sakura is someone who has the potential to be great. A genjutsu mistress, a great med-nin, infiltration, there are many possibilities as to what she could be. Are you willing to help me help her? Of course. Naruto nodded. After all his Gigi had done for him, if he could repay him, all he had to do was ask. He saw several small windows appear out of the corner of his eye, but as none of them were a quest window, ignored them for now. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Sarutobi said with a glimmer of pride in his eyes. Now, the situation is this. The person who was responsible for smashing your former apartment's windows since you were 7 was a member of the Haruno clan, Haruno Isuka, who is Haruno Sakura's second cousin. Tomorrow after the academy, you will be called for a meeting with me, as well as Haruno Mebuki and Sakura in order to resolve the issue. This is what I would like you to do. Sarutobi outlined his plan and then asked if that would be alright with him. Do you think they'll accept it? Naruto asked doubtfully. Mebuki is not stupid. Sarutobi snorted. For one of her blood relatives to be caught doing this kind of petty crime is a deeply shameful thing. She will allow it so long as the matter goes no further than this and the matter is buried in the depths of the bureaucracy. Okay. Then, I'll help you out, Gigi. Naruto grinned then forced himself not to jump as Neko appeared from nowhere with a cardboard box tucked under one arm. Hokage-sama, I discovered this box in a secret panel behind where Uzumaki-san's dresser used to be. The Anbu operative reported as she handed the box to Naruto. In addition, I would estimate that at least 3 people were responsible for the destruction of Uzumaki-san's property, although there is no clue as to who they were other than the urine on the decoy books Uzumaki-san left out. Decoys. Sarutobi raised an eyebrow at Naruto at this. My place has been broken into a couple of times before. Naruto replied uncomfortably. After the first time, I carved the secret panel out so whenever I left the apartment, no one other than an Anbu or a very thorough searcher could find anything I hid in it. Naruto opened the box to reveal his academy textbooks, a couple of photos of him when he was younger with the Hokage at Ichiraku's, as well as the book on intermediate Hokage taijutsu that he had been given by Iruka. I don't suppose my new clothes were spared. Naruto asked Neko, who shook her masked head. All your jumpsuits and new purchases were shredded to pieces. The Anbu replied, I am sorry, Uzumaki-san. It's okay. Naruto sighed. I'll just have to wash the set I have on every day. Wait, let me guess, my appliances are either stolen or broken beyond repair. An accurate guess, Uzumaki-san. Neko replied, there looked to have been gratuitous use of a crowbar or some similar blunt object. All have been smashed beyond reasonable repair. Sarutobi felt a growing anger at whomsoever had perpetrated this crime and resolved to put an Anbu team onto investigating it as soon as was feasible. I do believe this revelation upgrades Naruto-kun's status to critical. He said aloud, Neko, kindly inform the work crew at the former Anbu HQ that household appliances will also be required. Naruto-kun, I'll give you some money as emergency funds so you can buy some more clothes. You don't have to do this for me, Gigi. Naruto protested as the Anbu vanished again. I can handle myself. I do actually, it is under the guidelines for guardians of orphans. Sarutobi replied, even if it wasn't required, I'd still do it because I want you to be happy. I want you to be able to at least relax at home, if nowhere else. Moving you into the former Anbu HQ will help with that as it is still watched by a team of Anbu to make sure no one attempts to enter it to find secrets that might have been left behind after the HQ was moved. Gigi, Naruto smiled at his surrogate grandfather, thank you. 2 hours later. Amekage Apartments. This is an odd set of apartments. Iruka deadpanned. He and Naruto were standing outside the blonde orphan's new home with scrolls full of new clothes, food and other basic daily accessories secreted about their persons. The academy teacher had been furious when Naruto had told him what had happened to his home and was really tempted to aid the police in their investigation, but he managed to rein himself in and help Naruto with his shopping instead. Their trip to Higarashi's was interesting. Tenten had just shaken her head when Naruto what had happened to his home and clothes before helping him pick out a rather nice wardrobe. He had also updated his address with her so she knew where to deliver his shoulder plate once her father returned from his trip. It had made Iruka quake with fury when Naruto had to use the henge in order to enter a grocery store without being thrown out, although the part of him that was a teacher appraised the skill with which Naruto used the basic jutsu. Now the teacher and student pair were eyeing the building that was Naruto's new home, and they were not all that impressed. The building was about the average height for an apartment building in Konoha and was a dirty gray color. It was run down, dirty and the sign above the door had been plundered of a few letters. How much do you think orange paint is, Iruka-sensei? Naruto asked thoughtfully. No. Just no. Iruka said flatly, you are not painting this building orange. It's against the building codes. Naruto just looked at the teacher with an expression that screamed, bullshit. Well, it isn't technically against regulations, but loud colors are strongly and strictly advised against. Iruka relented. Anyway, where is your apartment in this place? Same place as my old place, right at the top. Naruto replied and led his sensei into the building. The interior was better than the exterior, but not by much. The carpets in the corridors were worn, the wallpaper peeling off in places and there was a slight smell of neglect in the air that made the pair's noses wrinkle in disgust. I really hope that the apartment is in better condition than the corridors are. Iruka remarked as they climbed the stairs. Gigi said he had people cleaning my new place up as we spoke. Naruto pointed out, that was over 2 hours ago. I think the apartment is probably alright, Iruka-sensei. At length, they reached the door of Naruto's new apartment and unlocked it. The two were very surprised to see the wooden floor of the central corridor gleaming like it had been freshly polished. The wallpaper, a plain cream color, was brand new and the sweet smell of sandalwood tickled Naruto's nose. This is promising, he remarked to his sensei, who nodded. Both of them were impressed by the flat as they toured the place. It was slightly larger than Naruto's old place and all of the furnishings were brand new and of high quality. The cooker, washing machine and rice cooker were also brand new and the cupboards were stuffed full of food and water. I think we're good, don't you think? Naruto asked with a smirk. It's a good thing I didn't bet against you. Iruka remarked with a sigh. Benton likes me. Naruto agreed. An hour later. After Iruka left, Naruto sat down and read the windows that had popped up while he had been talking with his Gigi. About 3 of them were the same. You diligently paid attention to the Hokage's lecture. Your whiz has gone up by 1. Damn, looks like listening to Gigi is just as good as going to class. Naruto whistled. Now, what are these ones? You have impressed the Hokage with your analysis of team dynamics and personality analysis. Plus 100 reputation with Sarutobi Hiruzen. You have impressed the Hokage with your willingness to aid your fellow classmates. Plus 100 reputation with Sarutobi Hiruzen. Huh, not bad. He nodded before turning to the quest notification window that had popped up as soon as he closed the last of the other notifications. Quest alert. Tending the cherry blossom. Haruno Sakura is an Uchiha fangirl and is gravely neglecting her training. You have been given the chance to bring her to her senses and set her on the path of being a real kunoichi. Quest objective. Persuade Haruno Sakura and Haruno Mebuki to start Sakura down the path of a proper kunoichi. Quest completion reward. Plus 1000 XP, plus 750 reputation with Haruno Sakura, plus 2000 Ryo. Quest failure. Plus 500 XP. Accept. YN. Like I'm going to refuse. Naruto grumbled as he hit the Y button. Now then, let's be having that scroll. You have acquired the Doden, Iwa Bunshin no Jutsu, scroll. Do you wish to learn it? YN. Hell yeah. Naruto stabbed the button with his free hand and watched as the scroll dissolved into blue light and was absorbed into his body. Doden, Iwa Bunshin no Jutsu. Active LV1, 00.00 EXP. The earth clone or rock clone technique is the most sturdy of the clone jutsu, save for the legendary Mokuden and its Moku Bunshin, requiring a solid hit in a critical location to destroy them. In addition, unlike the other elemental clones, if a Iwa Bunshin is destroyed, it breaks into pieces of rock, which can be used for other Doden ninjutsu. Iwa Bunshin can only use non-elemental or Doden ninjutsu and is almost as strong as the user. Hand signs. Ram monkey horse ram. When activated, the user spits out a rock, which is then shaped into a clone or clones of the user. The clones will follow the orders of its creator. Iwa Bunshin have no mental stats and have the physical stats of the creator of the -20%. Minimum number that have to be created, 5. Maximum number that can be created, 10. Cost 75 CP clone. Awesome. Naruto cheered. Let's try it out, up on the roof. One of Naruto's favorite additions that this new apartment was connected to the roof via a door next to the kitchen. On the roof, there were empty flower beds that Naruto itched to plant something in, but restrained himself from doing so, for now, at least. Right then, the blonde muttered once he was out on the roof, ram, monkey, horse, ram. Doden, Iwa Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto spat out a large rock feeling like he was barfing up a watermelon which split and turned into 5 exact copies of himself. Whoa, Naruto gaped at the sight of duplicates of himself standing in front of him, this is surreal. Try seeing it from the other side. When Iwa Bunshin retorted, we only have enough chakra to last an hour if we don't use any jutsu. Hey, I'm sorry that you're only a clone, but them's the breaks. Naruto shot back, how the hell are you even replying to me like this? Are Iwa Bunshin supposed to do this? How the hell would we know? Another Iwa Bunshin asked, we have your physical capabilities, not your knowledge of anything but Doden Jutsu, which is a single jutsu. You know we're lucky to even be able to use this jutsu at all. Naruto reminded his clones, the jutsu library at the academy doesn't have anything but E-rank jutsu, and none of them are elemental jutsu. The jutsu section of the actual library would be good, but we can't get in there without that crabby old lady throwing us out. This sucks. Another Iwa Bunshin grumbled. That's life. Naruto shrugged. By thinking deep thoughts, your wiz has gone up by 1. Shut up, Naruto growled as he closed the window. The next day, end of the academy day. Final year classroom. Haruno Sakura, Uzumaki Naruto. Neko said, appearing just after Iruka-sensei dismissed them for the day, your presences are required by the Hokage at once. What did you do forehead? Ino catcalled. Nothing. Sakura retorted. Naruto baka what did you do? I did nothing. Naruto replied, a member of the Haruno clan broke the law, which is why we have been summoned. We'd better not keep Gigi waiting. Sighed along Shunshin again, Neko-san. This summons does require that method, I am afraid. Neko replied. Sighed along what now? Sakura asked as she came down to stand in front of the Anbu, more than slightly intimidated by the Black Ops Kunoichi. Shunshin. As in, Shunshin no Jutsu. Naruto explained as he moved next to her, you haven't eaten much today have you, Sakura-chan? No, the Pinkett shook her head slowly as she replied pensively. Good. You might throw up otherwise. Neko said bluntly, hold still. She grasped their shoulders and made the three of them vanish in a large puff of chakra smoke. Upon reaching their destination, Sakura began to dry retch at the unfamiliar sensation of the Shunshin. A hand rubbing soothing circles into her back made the faux vomiting sensation fade to nothing. The Pinkett looked up to see a concerned Naruto looking at her before he removed his hand from her back. You okay Sakura-chan? He asked. Why yeah, that was really unpleasant though. Sakura replied, is that what it's like to use the Shunshin no Jutsu? No, merely the after effect of being side-along Shunshined. Neko replied, this way please. Sakura then noticed they were in front of the Hokage tower and hurried to follow the Anbu operative, Naruto trotting along in her wake. What's this all about, Naruto? Sakura asked, dropping the baka from his name in the seat of government of the Hidden Leaf Village. You'll find out in a few minutes, Sakura-chan. Naruto replied easily, I will say it is something that the Haruno clan will find embarrassing. Sakura frowned. Naruto was being unusually evasive today, any other day he would be falling over himself to tell her what was going on in order to impress her. Now that I come to think about it, he hasn't asked me out in, how long has it been? Sakura thought in mild shock, a couple of days, at least. Has he given up on me? Rather than the delight that she had thought she would feel at the prospect, she felt a pang of loss. Sakura was, contrary to her bold and brazen front, rather lacking in the self-confidence front. The frequent taunts and teasing by Amy and her clique regarding her forehead and pink hair as a child had only been made bearable by her friendship with Yamanaka Ino. Then, both of them had started crushing on Uchiha Sasuke and they had become rivals, constantly competing with each other for Sasuke's approval and affections. A small, but persistent, part of her railed at what she had done to her relationship with her best friend. Naruto chasing her had secretly been rather flattering for the pinkett. It had confirmed that yes, in spite of Sasuke's indifference, she was attractive and desirable. This made putting him down and smacking him when he got too persistent a little awkward for her. She had still done it, but every so often the guilt got to her and she had stoically endured his wooing of her in order to assuage it. Caught up in her thoughts, she only realized that they were in front of the Hokage's office when Neko knocked on the door. Hokage-sama, I have brought Uzumaki Naruto and Haruno Sakura, as ordered. Neko said as she entered before vanishing into thin air. Naruto and Sakura entered the office to see not only the Hokage as expected, but also Sakura's mother, Haruno Mebuki, the head of the Haruno clan. Tall, regal, with short-cut brown hair, and dressed in a red kimono with the white circle symbol of the Haruno on the center of her back and over where her heart was, Mebuki was an intimidating sight. What is going on here? Sakura thought in frustration as she opened her mouth to greet her mother and the village leader. With Naruto. Naruto watched as Sakura bowed to his Gigi and greeted him respectfully before doing the same to her mother. Hey Gigi. Naruto added in after she was done, good day, Haruno-san. Sakura. Uzumaki-san. Mebuki replied stiffly as she beckoned her daughter over to her side. Naruto walked over to the chairs opposite them and takes a seat as Sakura's mother continues to speak, irritation clear in her voice. Now then Hokage-sama, the children are here, so could you kindly explain why you have summoned us all? I was in the middle of the monthly audit when your Anbu messenger entered my room and delivered your message. The Haruno clan was a small civilian clan that had many mercantile interests, Naruto had been told by his Gigi the previous day. Smart and savvy, they had their fingers in a lot of pies throughout Hinokuni. Shops, caravans, auction houses, all bearing the circle crest of the Haruno clan and taking a hefty share of the profits. They donated generously to the village, contributing 2% of its annual income, which was phenomenal for any civilian clan, let alone one that had less than 70 people in it. At approximately midnight the day before yesterday, Haruno Isuka was discovered in the middle of attempting to smash Naruto-kun's window by members of Anbu set to discover who was responsible for the serial vandalism that was being visited upon Naruto-kun's apartment and she was taken into custody. Sarutobi said firmly, making both Mebuki and Sakura freeze in disbelief as the old man continued. Under questioning by Mitarashi Anko, she confessed to having been responsible for acts of harassment and vandalism against Naruto-kun going back 5 years. Wah, what kinds of vandalism? Mebuki choked pout, her face white. She smashed my window once, perhaps twice a week for the last 5 years. Naruto answered for the Hokage, recently she took to throwing rotting dog crap through my window as well. Ugh, Sakura wrinkled her nose at the thought. I had her questioned again this morning based on something Naruto-kun mentioned to me yesterday. Sarutobi said softly, his eyes as hard as flint. She confessed to organizing 2 groups of people to ransack Naruto-kun's apartment 4 years ago respectively. Under some pressure, she admitted to also organizing the gutting of Naruto-kun's apartment yesterday while he was at the academy. She had arranged it the previous day and has given us a list of people's names, of whom all are now in custody. So then, the charges are multiple counts of harassment, 3 counts of conspiracy to destroy private property, multiple counts of destruction of private property and 11 counts of littering, although those last ones are non-incremental charges and are thus not included for any reason other than how much damage Haruno Isuka has done. The faces of the 2 members of the Haruno clan were a picture of a mixture of different emotions. Sakura was shocked, horrified and dismayed by what her cousin had perpetrated, while Mebuki's face was seemingly blank and unemotional. It would have fooled anyone were it not for the fact that her emerald green eyes were sparking with panic, fear and anger. She knew of Naruto's burden and had cautioned Sakura to be careful around him. Mebuki had known the Yondaime Hokage and trusted his skill with the little-known art of Fuinjutsu completely, so she knew that Naruto was not the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Still, being careful around him wasn't a bad precaution. Sarutobi Hiruzen had made it known 12 years ago that he would come down like a ton of bricks on anyone found to have harassed or attacked Naruto in way that wasn't a taijutsu spar or playground antics, so proven when half a dozen civilians got thrown in jail for throwing stones at him when he had been 4. Now one of her clan had been proven to have orchestrated a campaign of intimidation and harassment against the boy all of Konoha knew he considered to be his surrogate grandson and Haruno Mebuki was dreading the consequences of that foolish girl Isuka's actions. Naruto-kun never told me about the constant harassment because he didn't want to cause me trouble. Sarutobi said, casting an amused yet stern look at his favorite orphan, I have since talked to him about that and he assures me that any future incidents will be reported promptly from here on out. The question now, is what to do about Isuka and the backlash of this incident on the Haruno clan. This was what Mebuki was dreading. The shinobi clans of Konoha may put on an indifferent facade to the world regarding one Uzumaki Naruto, but they made their displeasure known at any mistreatment he suffered. When he had been thrown out of the orphanage at the age of 5, an unknown buyer had bought the orphanage from Konoha and had fired all of the staff, replacing them with ex-shinobi who were strict, but firm with kids. Everybody knew it had been a shinobi clan that was responsible, but no one knew which one. The Haruno clan depended on hiring Konohagakure shinobi to guard their caravans and supply shipments. If the clans heard about Isuka's foolishness, the Haruno might never be able to hire shinobi as guards again, which would force them to hire mercenaries, who were unreliable and far more expensive per man than a shinobi. What is your judgment, Hokage-sama? She asked shakily. Naruto-kun, what do you think? Sarutobi asked his surrogate grandson, who looked thoughtful. It depends on the answer to a couple of questions, I think. Naruto replied before turning to the Haruno clan head. Did you know about what Isuka-san was doing to me, Haruno-san? No. Mebuki replied tightly, had I been aware, I would have put a stop to it and disciplined Isuka firmly. Sakura-chan. Naruto asked as he turned to his pink-haired crush. I had no idea. She told him honestly, I would have told Okawa-san if I knew. Fair enough. Naruto nodded, before looking at the Hokage. Hokage-sama, I don't think letting Isuka-san's crimes known would be a good idea. The Haruno clan had nothing to do with Isuka-san's actions. Very well, Naruto-kun. Sarutobi nodded, making the two Haruno sag with relief. However, they should have been more aware of their relatives' actions, so they must be penalized for that. Isuka-san is a failed genin candidate and the Haruno don't exactly have a clan compound. Naruto pointed out, for all we know she lives by herself. Except she doesn't, Naruto-kun. Sarutobi replied, she lives next door to Mebuki and Sakura's home. The Haruno have their own guards patrolling the area, who should have reported any odd movements by a clansman to Mebuki. So long as the shinobi clans know not to repudiate the Haruno clan from their lists of clients, I agree to a punishment. Mebuki said stoically, praying that it would not cripple her clan. Naruto-kun, would you care to declare the punishment for the Haruno clan? Sarutobi offered. Isuka's punishment has already been decided upon. She will be fined 10,000 ryo, payable to Naruto-kun in installments, as well as being banned from leaving the village for any reason for the next year, nor may she enter into any contracts on her own name for an equal length of time. She will also be required to check in with her clan leader once a day to give in an itinerary of where she plans on going in the village, why and how long she will take to go there and return. Mebuki winced at that. A financial penalty, house arrest inside the village, reduced to the level of an indentured servant, as well as being forced to outline her day's destinations, reasons for traveling and duration to Mebuki every single day for the next year. Harsh, but more lenient than she had been expecting. Well, Naruto frowned in thought. Sakura-chan's the smartest person in class. Even Sasuke-tem has to admit that. How about she helps me with the theory work until graduation without pay for 2 hours a day after class? In addition to being forbidden to diet. I need to diet otherwise I'll get fat. Sakura protested. No, you don't. Neko informed her as the Anbu stepped out of the shadows, making the civilians jump in shock. My apologies, but I cannot keep quiet at this juncture. No one who walks the path of the shinobi needs to diet. The regular training and exercises that shinobi undertake see to that. Eat a balanced diet, yes, but do not cut down on the amount of food you eat. It prevents your body from growing properly and makes you useless in training. Uzumaki-san could easily beat you in a taijutsu spar just by outlasting you. But, Sakura looked on the edge of protesting again until Naruto interrupted her. Care for me to prove it, Sakura-chan? He asked calmly, leaving the girl speechless. I don't think that is necessary, Naruto-kun. Sarutobi interjected, I will say to you, Sakura-chan, that Neko is absolutely correct. Dieting is unnecessary for any shinobi. Now, will you accept Naruto-kun's punishment of your daughter serving as his private tutor for the next 7 months in lieu of any fines or other punishments? Mebuki had known that the blonde Jinchuriki had a crush on her daughter and wasn't really surprised he had manipulated things so he could spend time with her. What had puzzled her was why he was insisting on her not dieting. When the Anbu Neko had decreed that shinobi didn't need to diet and been backed up by the Hokage himself, she had figured it out. He was worried. Worried that Sakura's dieting could cripple her career as a kunoichi, cut it short on a mission, and wanted to do something to stop it from getting that far. He simply wanted to help the girl he had a crush on to survive in the world she chose to enter. I agree with the punishment and accept on behalf of my daughter. Mebuki inclined her head slightly. Would tomorrow be acceptable to begin her tutoring sessions? More than acceptable, Haruno-san. Naruto replied with a small bow. OKAA-san. Sakura yelped. Enough, Sakura. Mebuki ordered. This is an exceptionally generous offer which prevents the Haruno clan from being disgraced by the actions of a single rogue member. I will explain everything to you once we return home, but keep your peace for the moment. Sakura quieted down and frowned. Feeling Naruto's gaze on her, she looked into his clear blue eyes. They were unapologetic at what he had just wrought and had a pleading quality to them, begging her to accept that what had been done was for her own good. Geez, he really is too much, she thought with a mental sigh. Smiling crookedly at him, she nodded slightly in acquiescence and was treated to the sight of him perking up slightly at the sign that she didn't hate him. Sarutobi, Neko and Mebuki noticed this small byplay and swiftly concealed any grins that arose because of it, not that Neko actually needed to, what with the mask and all. Once the two Haruno women leave, Sarutobi nods at Naruto approvingly and says, very well done, my boy. It helped that Nezumi-san was holding idiot boards above their heads so I could read them. Naruto replied dryly. A bashful Nezumi appeared with a stack of cardboard rectangles tucked under his arm and muttered, they're called placards. Still, you did well to read them without alerting Sakura and Mebuki to the fact they were there. Sarutobi smirked as he added, even although Nezumi almost dropped one on Sakura-chan's head. Naruto stayed to chat with his surrogate grandfather for a few minutes before heading off, the windows that only he could see floating around him. Double timing it back to his apartment, Naruto whizzed up the stairs and into his room so he could get through the notices from his gamer ability quickly and without people wondering why he was making odd waving notions in midair. Sitting down at his kitchen table, he turned his attention to the first one as he waited for his cup ramen to cook. Damn these 3-minute waiting times. Your kindness bears fruit. Plus 5-0 reputation with Haruno Sakura. If this was the first one, oh. The back rub. Who knew that back rubs were a way to make girls like you more? Go figure. Your mercy becomes you. Plus 500 reputation with
Haruno Mebuki. Mercy. Oh, not giving them a harsh punishment. Naruto realized, right. What's next? You have received Haruno Sakura as a private tutor. +100 relationship with Haruno Sakura per every 5 sessions with her and +1 int and whiz for every 2 sessions you use to hit the books and listen to her teach you. Hell yeah. Naruto fist pumped at that. Congratulations, tending the cherry blossom, quest complete. You have started to turn Sakura from the wrong path and have even started to get closer to her. Nicely done, quest completion reward. +750 reputation with Haruno Sakura, +1000 express, +200 Ryo. Alright. This means I only need 700 more reputation with her to get to a neutral relationship with her. Naruto cheered. This rocks. Quest alert. Long-term quest. A cherry blossom in full bloom. You are at the start of a proper relationship with Haruno Sakura. Slowly build it up with her and you will meet your goal. Quest objective. Successfully woo, romance and seduce Haruno Sakura, eventually making her your girlfriend. Quest completion reward. Sakura as your girlfriend. Quest failure. Friendzoned, except Y.N. Again, like I'd say no, Naruto hit the Y button just before his egg timer rang, signaling that his cup ramen was ready. Itadakimasu.
Chapter 5, Field Dungeon. Haruno Clan Area, Clan Leader Family Home. Have a seat, Sakura. Mebuki directed her daughter as they entered their living room. We have much to talk about. Sakura looked curiously at her mother as she sat down and observed Mebuki bustling around the living room kitchen that made up their house. Most people would expect a clan head's house to be ostentatious and grand, but the Haruno clan had only been on the rise in the last 20 years, so they had kept much of their humble origins. Oh, there was a fancy house for formal dining and parties, but the Haruno clan kept a regular family atmosphere for the most part, which Sakura was quite glad about. Dear, what's the problem? A male voice called as Sakura's father, Haruno Kazashi, walked into the room. With dull pink hair cut into the shape of a cherry blossom, it was obvious where his daughter inherited her bright pink hair from. The Haruno clan came this close to becoming ruined because of that foolish girl Isuka. Mebuki told him, her voice shaking from stress and anger, sit down with Sakura and I'll fill you in. Kazashi looked over at Sakura and smiled. How are you doing, little blossom? He asked. Otu-san. Sakura groaned at her father's nickname for her, coined by him when she was only 2. He chuckled as he sat next to her and ruffled her hair, making Sakura pout at being treated like a kid. All right then, he said, becoming serious as he turned to his wife, what has Isuka done now? Mebuki launched into a blow-by-blow account of the various sins and crimes of one Haruno Isuka, with Sakura chiming in with the occasional detail that her mother had either neglected to mention or forgotten about in her agitation. That stupid girl, Kazashi said in dismay as he shook his head slowly. If young Naruto hadn't offered that compromise, the shinobi clans would have torn us to pieces financially. Why? Why would the shinobi clans interfere? Sakura asked curiously. This isn't confirmed, but there have been rumors that Uzumaki Naruto isn't just named in honor of the extinct Uzumaki clan, but is an actual blood member of the Uzumaki clan. Mebuki replied. There was an Uzumaki clan. Sakura asked in surprise. I've read my history books from cover to cover, and there isn't a single mention of them, ever. Kazashi frowned. That is odd. Well, the Shidaime Hokage, Senju Hashirama, married a member of the Uzumaki clan, Uzumaki Mito, in order to cement an alliance between Konohagakure and Uzushiogakure, the home village of the Uzumaki clan. The spiral symbol of the Uzumaki clan was adopted into the symbol of Konoha and is worn by Chunin and Jonin level ninja. Mebuki added, the loyalty of the Uzumaki was legendary, just as legendary as their skills at the art of Fuinjutsu. Even now, many years after the destruction of Uzushiogakure, their inability to betray either family or an ally is spoken of in awe. Because of their loyalty, they came to our aid during the First Great Shinobi War without needing to be asked. Kazashi continued, they aided all of the shinobi clans in one way or another, which leads us to why Isuka would have ruined us if Naruto-san had not offered this deal. The clan shinobi of Konoha owes the Uzumaki much, and regretted being unable to aid them during the surprise attack that destroyed them, so they do what they can to aid Naruto-san if something like what Isuka did happens. Several high-ranking civilians have found that their business ventures were decidedly shaky without support from the major clans and were vulnerable due to clan shinobi refusing to take missions to guard or escort their properties. Mebuki said quietly, we can thank all our ancestors that the boy still has a crush on you, otherwise we would have gone the same route. He might not like me like that anymore. Sakura admitted sadly, usually he asks me out at least once a day, but he hasn't asked me out in about 2 days. Her parents exchanged looks before turning back to her. Sakura, while I know you would prefer not to be the sole bearer of the conditions Naruto-san has determined, the fact remains that you are. Kazashi said carefully, as your father, I must ask you to bear with it until you graduate. Okay, Otu-san. Sakura nodded before sighing, I guess I'd better put together some studying materials for tomorrow. Naruto's grades are only slightly better than Inuzuka Kiba's. Kazashi waited until the sound of Sakura's footsteps had faded away before turning to his wife and saying quietly, she looked quite sad at the thought of not being pursued by the boy anymore. He strokes her ego and assures her that she's attractive. Mebuki replied quietly, from what I hear, the Uchiha boy ignores practically everyone, especially his fangirls, to the point of rudeness. Combined with Sakura's insecurity towards her physical appearance, it's of little surprise that she is insecure without some way of affirming that she is pretty. I dislike the sound of Uchiha Sasuke. Kazashi said with a frown, Sakura deserves someone who will treat her like a princess, not like an inconvenience. To be fair to the boy, he has an entire academy full of girls, civilian and shinobi, throwing themselves at him. Mebuki pointed out, that would try the patience of a stone, let alone a pre-adolescent boy who had his entire clan massacred by his elder brother. I know, but that kind of excuse can't hold out for everything. Kazashi said slightly impatiently, most people would try and reach out, create new bonds to replace those they had lost, at least after a while. Sasuke. He rejects bonds with others, from everything Sakura has told me, plus what little I've seen of the boy myself, because he fears that those bonds will be used against him or taken from him like his brother did to his parents. He has little to nothing to hold him here. Mebuki didn't question her husband's conclusion. He was a retired lifetime genin, who had charmed his way into her heart with his quick and ready humor and devotion to her. When Sakura had been born, he had retired from active duty. He had been missed because of his skill at reading people. While not as sharp as a fully trained member of Anbuti and I, he could make a snap judgment about someone, which usually turned out to be right for one reason or another. Sakura thinks that she can break through to him. Mebuki said quietly. She can't. Kazashi shook his head. The boy has to make the first step himself, otherwise he will never truly recover. True. Mebuki sighed. What do you think about Sakura tutoring Naruto-san? I knew Yondaime-sama. Kazashi said quietly. If he believed his work would hold against that monster, then I see no reason to be worried. Besides, now that Sakura can't diet, she'll finally be able to train properly. I owe Naruto-san for that if nothing else. Mebuki nodded slightly. Her husband had tried to convince Sakura about eating properly, but she had been more stubborn about that than she had been about anything else. Well, at least now that she was legally barred from cutting back on the amount of food she ate, it was a non-issue now. We will just have to wait and see. Mebuki said as she stood up to get dinner ready. The next day, lunchtime. Final year classroom, Kanahagakure Shinobi Academy. Hey forehead. Ino called as she slid onto the seat next to Sakura, who was eating a bento, given up on dieting. Sasuke-kun's all mine then. Pig. Sakura growled, I've been forbidden to diet. By Naruto Baka. This made the platinum blonde girl blink. Why the heck should you give a crap what Naruto tells you to do? Sakura sighed. Because, pig, one of my clan's women has been harassing Naruto for 5 years, vandalizing his property and stuff. She was caught a few days ago and Naruto was given the choice of what punishment the Haruno clan was to be given yesterday. And, he banned you from dieting? Ino asked in confusion. No, he made me his tutor until graduation and banned me from dieting. Sakura growled before finishing the bento. Pretty light punishment. Ino commented, Daddy's told me that one clan harassing another has serious consequences most of the time. Cousin Isuka was the only member of our clan who had anything to do with it. Sakura replied, none of the rest of us had any idea what she was up to, which was why Hokage-sama didn't add any additional punishments on the clan, at Naruto Baka's insistence. He has it bad for you, forehead. The Yamanaka heiress commented, you should snap him up while I take Sasuke-kun. TCH. Yeah right, Ino pig. Sakura snorted. Shanaru. Like I'm gonna let you take Sasuke-kun from me, pig. Cha. Sakura's inner personality roared defiantly. Sitting a few rows behind them, one Hyuga Hinata glared at the back of Sakura's head. She had a crush the size of Hino Kuni on Naruto and would give anything to have him be even half as attentive to her as he was to Sakura, and that pink-haired hussy was scorning him. One day, the shy girl vowed, one day, I will be brave enough to stand by Naruto-kun's side as he becomes Hokage, and you two will gnash your teeth at the lost opportunity. Yes, she was shy, but she was also more than slightly contemptuous of fangirl Kunoichi. Her mother hadn't been a shinobi, but she had spoken to Hinata of how those who never took their duties and training as Kunoichi seriously caused the deaths of their teammates. Hinata was jerked from her thoughts as she spotted her blonde-haired crush walking back into the classroom, making her face flush red as she drunk in his new look. He had been good-looking in the orange jumpsuit, but looked even better in his new outfit of black shirts and black-gray trousers. Naruto-kun, she whispered as she looked at him. With Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto was unsure what to think at this point. The previous day, he had been able to help his crush, Sakura, by deflecting most of the backlash of her cousin's actions and stopping her from dieting. Okay, so he had also manipulated things so he could spend more time with her and raise his grades, but hey, he needed all the advantages he could get Sakura-chan as his girlfriend. No way did he want to be friend-zoned. The main problem was that he had scoured the guide from top to bottom and he couldn't find anything to do with romance. Typical really. The guide to living one's life is a video game and they skip one of the most important things. Still, he supposed there wasn't really much point at this time. His relationship with Sakura was only a few hundred points short of neutral, so maybe it was waiting for him to move his reputation with Sakura-chan to at least friendly. Status, he whispered, bringing up the screen that displayed his stats. Name, Uzumaki Naruto. Class, the gamer. Level, 5 next level, 98.00%. Title, Academy student plus 25% XP to LV10. Age, 12. HP, 700 700ths. CP, 700 700ths. STR, 18-5. Santa, 38-5, plus 10. Dex, 14-5. Int, 15 plus 5. Whiz, 15. Luck. Looking at his stats, Naruto had to wince. He was heavily biased towards his Santa. How he managed to get such a high stamina is beyond his comprehension, but it would be helpful for training in the future. His next target for training, Naruto decided, would be his Dex. He had been neglecting it as of late, and it would never do to become unbalanced. Besides of which, it would let him level up his Shurikenjutsu and Hiko Yoshin fast draw technique skills. Most people dismissed Shurikenjutsu as merely being useful for distraction, but Naruto wasn't too sure about that. His Jiji had told him about a shuriken clone technique he had invented that he used to literally shred his enemies to pieces, so the blonde boy was certain that his skill with thrown weapons shouldn't be neglected. As lunchtime ended and Iruka-sensei started yet another boring lecture, this time about the Second Great Shinobi War, Naruto kept one ear open while allowing the rest of his mind to wander. He was planning what to serve Sakura-chan when she came over to tutor him after the academy was over when he heard his name called. Naruto, could you tell the class what the Nidaime Hokage's ninjutsu specialty was? Mizuki called, a barely hidden sneer on his face. Unfortunately, for Mizuki, Naruto had studied up on the abilities of the 4 Hokage, so this question was easy for him. Nadaime-sama specialized in using sweetened ninjutsu. Naruto replied with a smirk. Very good. Mizuki said, surprised at the dead last's knowledge. Now, what was his favorite weapon? The Raijin no Ken Thunder God Sword. Naruto answered promptly. Well done Naruto. Iruka nodded. Next, Choji. What was Sandaime-sama's age when he became Hokage for the first time? Naruto automatically tuned out the rotund boy's response as he turned his attention to the window that had popped up as he had answered the last question. You have proven your knowledge. +1, whiz. He had to smirk slightly as he closed the window. The boredom of book learning hadn't prevented him from memorizing all of the special traits and equipment of the previous leaders of the village. Senju Hashirama's Mokuton wood style was fairly obvious, because he created the enormous forest around Konohagakure and even quite a few of the initial housing in the village proper, most of which still stood today. Senju Tobarama was infamous for possessing a frighteningly high water affinity, and his kenjutsu skills, combined with the Raijin no Ken, was very formidable. His Jiji, Sarutobi Hiruzen, didn't possess a Kekkei Genkai like the Shadaime, nor did he have a specialty ninjutsu skill set like the Nadaime. What the Sandaime possessed was just as great however, his sharpened strategic mind, as well as a determination to do what was best for the village. Legendary for mastering all non-Kekkei Genkai ninjutsu in Konoha, he was honored with the title of the Sandaime Kami no Shinobi, third god of shinobi. The Yondaime Hokage, Namikaze Minato, had only had his title for less than a decade before the day of the Kyuubi, but his exploits on the battlefield during the Third Great Shinobi War were the stuff of legends, slaying over 200 Iwagakure shinobi using his 2 jutsu, the Hiraishin Flying Thunder God and the Rasengan, Spiraling Sphere, earning him the title of Konoha no Kiro Senko, Yellow Flash of the Leaf. Not much information was actually readily available about the Yondaime for some reason. His sacrificial attack that defeated the giant fox demon was utterly unknown, but had raised the Mantonai godhood in Konoha. This made the dearth of information regarding the man and his jutsu strange, to say the least. Naruto had no idea what the Hiraishin or Rasengan were or what they did, and the only thing that was known about the man who had created them was that he had been the most talented prodigy in the history of Konohagakure. A couple of windows popped up, the first making Naruto's eye twitch. By organizing information neatly in your mind, you gain +1 int. Whoever Gaia is, he or she is. Definitely making fun of my intelligence. Naruto thought sourly before closing that window and reading the next one. Quest created. The fourth principle, there is not much information available about the legendary 4th Hokage, which you find irritating. Investigate and discover the details of at least one of the Yondaime's jutsu, as well as at least one detail about the man himself. Quest completion reward, +600 XP, 1 random jutsu scroll, +250 reputation with. Quest failure, +200 XP. Except, YN. Naruto frowned as he read the quest description. It was odd that the quests that were created were so random. None of them seemed to have a unifying theme other than, Naruto go do this and you'll get this, this and this. What the hell? Why not? Naruto hit the Y button, closing the window. He did want to know more about his hero, the Yondaime, so this was a quest he would gladly take. The question was, where to look? The library was out, because the crabby old bat that was in charge of the place hated him and tossed him out as soon as he tried to walk in. The academy sensei were out as well, even Iruka sensei, as they clammed up as soon as he asked about the Yondaime for some reason. Weird people. This left only one source of information regarding the Yondaime that Naruto knew was unbiased regarding him, as well as highly likely to know about the jutsu and the man himself, his Jiji. He'd go and pay the man a visit after he'd finished his tutoring session with Sakura-chan. It was the only thing to do. After classes end. Naruto's apartment building. This is your new apartment building? Sakura asked dubiously. She obviously wasn't very impressed with it, judging by the expression on her face. Yeah, it's owned by Jiji. Naruto replied nonchalantly, I'm a high-profile target for vandalism, so the rest of the landlords refused to consider renting one of their places out to me, so Jiji bought this building for me. This was the cover story that he had been told to use when explaining the Hokage letting him use the former Anbu HQ entrance to those below the rank of Jonin. Naruto, show the Hokage some respect. Sakura scolded him as they entered the building, he is the leader of the village after all. You sound like Iruka-sensei. Naruto grumbled, I'll tell you the same thing I told him, I knew him as the man with the funny hat before I knew him as the Hokage. He's the closest thing I have to family, Sakura-chan. The Pinket's expression softened. Sorry. Most people in our class aren't orphans, so I keep forgetting. Naruto nodded. Most of Sakura's fellow civilian-born students in their class were either adopted or unaffected by the Kyuubi's attack 12 years previously. Most of the orphans had been older than them, like Higurashi Tenten. It's okay, Sakura-chan, just be more careful in future, nay. He said with a smile. Fair enough. Sakura nodded, before she looked around the hall they were walking through. This place needs a good clean. It's filthy. My apartment's clean as a whistle. Naruto told her, I'm planning on cleaning up the rest of the building once I get settled in. Jiji isn't charging me rent, so the least I can do is clean the place up and maintain it. Sakura was silent as they approached his room. Naruto couldn't even begin to guess what she was thinking about. Mentally shrugging, he led his crush into his home. Ojamashimasu, Sakura muttered as she entered Naruto's house for the first time. Peering around, she made an odd humming noise as she took in the rooms. I'm surprised that the place isn't full of empty ramen packets, she commented. Oi, it's only been a day since I moved in. Naruto grumbled good-naturedly, give me some time and it will be a mess. Oh, no you don't. Sakura countered, putting her hands on her hips and glaring at the blonde boy purposefully, I will not be subjected to a mess every time I come over. Either you keep this place spick and span, or you come over to my house to study. Pick. I was joking, Sakura-chan. Naruto sighed. I couldn't keep my last place clean, because people kept breaking in and messing it up, so I'm out of practice with the whole, tidying up, business. I will do my best though. Do you want a drink? Sure. Sakura nodded. What do you have? Water, iced tea, barley tea, fruit juice and sencha. Naruto recited. Iced tea please. Sakura said as she sat at the table. Naruto fetched a pair of glasses and a new bottle of iced tea from the fridge and sat down opposite her, pouring them both a generous glassful of iced tea. Cheers. Naruto said as he sipped the drink. He hadn't tried iced tea before and found it odd, but pleasant. Now, what exactly do you need help with? Sakura asked after sipping at her drink as well. I know your written test scores are slightly higher than Kiba's. I've memorized everything in the textbooks to do with the Hokage. Naruto replied. The rest, I don't really see the point of knowing it. The code of shinobi conduct has been broken so many times that it's held together with duct tape and it's unrealistic. As for the history of the elemental nations, interesting, but again, not something I can see as being absolutely vital to being a shinobi. What do you mean about the code? Sakura asked. Every shinobi abides by it. Well, take the rule about showing no emotions. Naruto said thoughtfully. I mean, even shinobi are human, right? So saying we have to be emotionless golems is a bit much. All we have to do is keep our emotions from affecting us while we're on missions, and by missions, I mean ones that are C rank and above, not D ranks. Sakura was taken aback by the thought that the class Dobi had put into something she had taken as an absolute. She quickly rallied however. I'll give you that one Naruto, but you still have to learn the rules in order to pass the written section of the Genin exam. Sakura reminded him, the history section is intertwined with the Hokage, so a little brushing up on the battles they were involved in should help you there as well. She looked around for a moment before asking, can I use your bathroom first? Second door on the right once you leave the living room. Naruto told her. As she headed out, Naruto whispered, observe prompting a window to appear with her details on it, which Naruto quickly scanned. Name, Haruno Sakura. Class, Brainiac. Level, 7 next level, 55.25. Title, Academy Student plus 25% XP to LV10. Age, 12. HP, 550/550ths. CP, 250/250ths. STR, 10-5. Santa, 10-5. Dex, 20-5. Int, 45. Wis, 40. Luck, 25. Status, Uchiha Fangirl minus 25% to all express gain, minus 10% to teamwork bookworm plus 10% int per level, plus 25% XP for reading textbooks, absolute chakra control minus 50% CP cost for all jutsu, civilian ancestry 25 HP and CP less added during level up. Perks, secondary personality, eidetic memory, honor student, flaws, malnourished, fangirl, mercurial temper, insecurity, low stamina. Haruno Sakura is the clan heiress of the Haruno clan, a rising power among the civilian clans of Konohagakure. Although she possesses far more potential than the average civilian genin candidate, she squanders all this potential by chasing after the last Uchiha as one of his rabid fangirls. Dear Kami. Naruto muttered as he took in Sakura's stats. She had barely any STR or STA, although her int and wis were definitely very impressive. Her dex and luck were so-so. The statuses were a mix of good and bad, but the only one that had to go was the Uchiha fangirl. Status. The civilian ancestry status was something she had been born with, so he doubted anything could be done about that. The other two were definitely positive ones that he wasn't going to mess with. Frowning, Naruto touched the perk labeled Secondary Personality, prompting another window to pop up. Secondary Personality. You possess a secondary personality as a result of repressing your true feelings over a number of years. While this, inner, version of yourself often gives you bad advice, it also acts as the perfect defense against the mindwalking skills of the Yamanaka clan, as well as other mind-reading jutsu. Passively increases the chance of bad judgment calls by 20%. Passively increases resistance against genjutsu by 10%. Actively increases resistance against any mind-reading skill by 75%. This perk can be completely removed by fully accepting all of your repressed feelings, or partially removed by accepting a part of them. Naruto read the description of the perk with increasing incredulity. Sakura. Repressing her feelings. She certainly never had any trouble expressing when he had irritated her beyond her tolerance. Closing that window, he moved to the next one. Eidetic memory. You possess a very sharp memory, able to recall something after seeing it only briefly. While not as good as a photographic memory, it is still an amazing benefit to learning. Passively adds 10% extra express from learning from books or scrolls. Whenever you learn a skill from a scroll, you start off with 20% XP in that skill. This perk can be lost if you receive critical brain damage. Sounds like Sakura-chan alright. Naruto muttered to himself, moving to the next one. Honor student. You are the teacher's favorite student due to your dedication to learning, perfect attendance and lack of rule breaking while in school hours. While enrolled in school, you gain an additional 10% XP boost. As long as you maintain your good conduct and keep this perk, you are guaranteed to be top kunoichi. This perk is automatically lost after being assigned to a genin team after graduation. It can also be lost before then by either constantly rule breaking for a month, being absent without cause for a month straight, or your grades dropping by a significant amount in a short period of time. Naruto found himself nodding, right up until he read the bit about Sakura definitely becoming top kunoichi. This wasn't entirely unexpected, but he doubted Sakura would actually do any training if she got onto the TEMS team as long as she had the Uchiha fangirl status. While he had started her down the path of being a real kunoichi rather than a fangirl kunoichi, it evidently hadn't been enough to break her of fangirling over the TEM. If he wanted to make sure she had a good chance of surviving to the rank of Chunin, he'd have to get rid of both the Uchiha fangirl status and the fangirl flaw. Hearing Sakura coming back, Naruto hurriedly closed the windows, but resolved to use his Observe skill on her again so he could finish reading her stat page. Observe has leveled up. Ignoring the new window, Naruto beamed at Sakura as she came back into the living room. Ready to get started, Sakura-chan? He asked with a gesture at the books he had piled to one side of the table in preparation for the study session. We might as well. The Pinkett sighed. Let's start with history today, as that seems to be an area that at least interests you somewhat. The next 2 hours were somewhat awkward for the two preteens, as this was the first time they had spent any time with each other without having their classmates around them. Sakura got by it by focusing on the material at hand, as well as thinking up ways to draw Naruto's interest to the subject matter by drawing his attention to the famous historical battles that the Hokage were involved in first, then adding in background information. It worked. Go figure that one. As he saw Sakura off with a wave and a smile, Naruto thought that these lessons might not be such a bad idea. His int and wis had both gone up by 1 already, and that was just from the sheer volume of material he had read through. Just thinking about it made his brain throb from information overload. Deciding to stop thinking deep thoughts for the moment, Naruto decided to go read the Observe data he had floating in front of him from using Observe on Sakura before she turned the corner. Retreating to the living room, he pressed the flaw called Fangirl, as he knew exactly what malnourished was doing to her. Fangirl. You are obsessed with an individual to the point that you think of little else but that person, driving your friends away and making the subject of your crush obsession dislike you. A 10% reduction to teamwork. For every fangirl action taken in front of the subject of your crush, your reputation with that person is lowered by 50. This flaw can be lost by facing the truth of who the subject of your obsession is and what they are really like. Well, this explains why she stopped being friends with Ino. Naruto muttered aloud. He resolved to scan Ino and Sasuke the next day so he could get an accurate read of what the hell was going on with the three of them, before closing the second window and opening another. Mercurial temper. You are hot-headed with a hair-trigger temper. Either about certain things only or just in general. This makes people wary of you and reduces the likelihood of befriending them. Increased chance of losing your temper by 25%. Every instance of losing your temper will reduce your reputation with the person in question by 10. Reduces teamwork by 5%. This flaw can be removed by gaining control over your temper. Naruto had to wince slightly at this. He had been on the receiving end of Sakura's temper quite a bit over the last year or so it puzzled him as to why his reputation with her was as high as it was. Could all this only have started being applied to everyone when he received his gamer ability? Feeling his headache return, the blonde boy filed that under things to consider later and moved on to the next flaw. Insecurity. You have, as a result of bullying, a rather low sense of self-esteem. There is at least one thing about yourself that you are overly self-conscious about and you cover this up with a confident front. It also leaves you more vulnerable to peer pressure and going along with the crowd. Reduces by 25%. Raises chances of being swept up in the latest fads by 35%. Raises chance of fancying the most popular boy around by 30%. Raises chance of losing temper when confronted by something you dislike about yourself by 25%. This flaw can be removed by gaining confidence in yourself, your abilities and your appearance. What the hell? Another mysterious stat. Naruto complained aloud. Come on. Throw me a bone here. Grumbling to himself, he decided to do some research on these stats. Choji would know something about them, as he had been into them last year, although Naruto couldn't quite recall what the game had been called. Nodding to himself at his plan, Naruto pressed the last flaw. Low stamina. Even for a civilian, you have low stamina. Running is hard work for you and you rarely do more than the minimum required exercise during physical education portions of your schooling. Your tiredness gauge fills up quicker. You receive 25 less HP per level up than normal. This flaw can be removed by training to increase your stamina to an acceptable level, the exact number depending on your occupation. For further information, please consult the guide under Stats for your world. This might be a problem. Naruto conceded glumly. Sakura hated getting hot and sweaty in case it made Sasuke hate her. Great. Just great. Not only would he have to first cure her insecurity and then break her fangirl flaw in stat, he'd have to somehow make her train herself up to be half decent in combat. When it rains, it pours. Closing the windows, Naruto was lost in though for a moment before he remembered he had to go to the Hokage's office to see his Gigi. Grabbing his goggles, Naruto beat feet toward the tower. He had questions to ask. Hokage's office. Sarutobi was fighting through paperwork when Naruto sauntered into the room. Glad to have an excuse to get away, at least temporarily, from his mortal enemy, the Sandaime put the form he had just read, a request to turn some of the training fields into farmland, to one side. Ah Naruto-kun, he said warmly, how was your first study session with Sakura-chan? I have a headache. Naruto pulled a face as he answered, we covered almost all of the battles between Shadaime-sama and Uchiha Madara, both pre-Konoha and after its founding, as well as some of the battles during the First Great Shinobi War. You have made some progress then. Sarutobi suggested. Yeah, but does learning things have to be so damn headache-inducing? Naruto groused. You aren't accustomed to absorbing that much information at once yet. Sarutobi informed his surrogate grandson. In time, you will become used to it. Now, what can I do for you? I wanted to ask about Yondaime-sama. Naruto replied, there's almost nothing in the textbooks about him, his jutsu or even what he was like as a person. Sarutobi frowned. That shouldn't be right. The textbook should have some information. All it has is his name, the name of his jutsu, a list and description of the battles he was in and the numbers and ranks of the missions he was on. Naruto informed him. I see, well then, what would you like to know about? Sarutobi asked as he mentally planned an investigation into the quality of the information being put into the textbooks. Well, what the heck are his jutsu? The Rasengan and the Hiraishin. Naruto asked. Supposedly, those two jutsu let Yondaime-sama kill 200 shinobi in one battle, but it doesn't say how. The Hiraishin is a timed space ninjutsu that allows the user to teleport to any place that has a special jutsushiki jutsu formula nearby. Sarutobi explained. Before the battle you were referring to happened, Minato seeded the area with his special Hiraishin kunai, as well as hundreds of copies of jutsushiki. Combined with the Rasengan, which is a sealess jutsu that creates a orb of chakra in the palm of the user's hand that grinds an opponent grievously, Minato was able to teleport all over the battlefield and kill those 200 shinobi before they knew what was happening, turning the tide in the war against Iwagakure. Wow, that's just, wow. Naruto was, for once, at a loss for words. Yes, that was my reaction when Minato told me about his plan for the battle. Hiruzen smiled wryly. That battle cemented his reputation as Konoha's yellow flash, as he always disappeared and reappeared in a flash of yellow light whenever he used the Hiraishin, as well as cementing his worthiness to succeed me as Hokage. Why? Naruto asked intently. Minato was a kind man. Sarutobi said with a soft smile as he thought back, very gentle and one who cared greatly, both for Konoha as a whole and for his fellow shinobi. He made that plan to use the Hiraishin on such an unprecedented scale because he wished to end the war quickly. Before more of his comrades died in the fighting. He truly personified the will of fire, the code that we Konohagakure shinobi live by and gives us a strength beyond chakra, beyond mere jutsu. He was, without question, one of the greatest shinobi it has ever been my pleasure to meet, which made his death 12 years ago an even greater tragedy. Naruto nodded. I wish I could have met him. He sounds like an awesome person. Sarutobi's heart twisted at this coming from a person who looked so much like Minato, and was in fact his son. Forcing a grandfatherly smile onto his face, Sarutobi said, he was. Minato did have his faults though. He was terrible at naming jutsu for example. The Hiraishin's original name was a convoluted thing that took about 2 minutes to say, the same applying to the Rasengan. He was also very dense when it came to the fairer sex. Something you seem to have inherited from him, Naruto-kun. The old man chuckled mentally, knowing that the Hyuga heiress was head over heels for him, yet he just thought she was weird. Truly, like father, like son. Huh, Naruto nodded again absently. Well, that answers my questions. Thanks, Gigi. No problem, my boy. Sarutobi replied with a negligent wave of his hand. Oh, by the way, the Anbu have rounded up all of the people responsible for both of the vandalism attacks on your apartment. They'll be imprisoned for 2 years and they'll each also pay 100,000 ryo fine to you for damages caused and trauma suffered. I'll have the money given to you as soon as possible. I didn't suffer any trauma though, Gigi. Naruto pointed out, just irritation. Trauma, irritation, whatever. Sarutobi sniffed faux snoodily, making Naruto cackle at his Gigi pranking people legally. By the way Gigi, do you know any training fields I could use? Naruto asked. The academy staff don't let me use the field next to it unless it's a detention and I don't wanna have to get detention just to be able to train. Sarutobi frowned in thought. Sadly, it was academy policy to refuse any clan shinobi the use of the academy's training field outside of classes, as they usually left it a mess, especially the Akamichi and the Uchiha, so there was nothing he could do there. However, yes, I believe I can help you there Naruto-kun. The Hokage nodded. Training field 13 is free due to it being overrun with chakra mutations. Chakra what now? Naruto asked in confusion. Chakra mutations. Sarutobi explained patiently. All living beings have a natural reservoir of chakra that provides the eternal vitality of life. Due to Konoha being a shinobi village, the air is suffused with stray chakra from the casual use of jutsu by the shinobi residents, in the training fields especially. When a field becomes oversaturated with chakra, it starts to affect the animals, warping them into larger and meaner versions of their original forms. When this occurs, we seal off the field and send in teams of chunin or even genin to eliminate the mutations, then allow the land to lie fallow for a year or so before reopening it. So, you're going to let me use a field full of rabid monsters? Naruto asked in disbelief. Training field 13 is fairly unique as it is divided up into various subsections by fences. Sarutobi replied, there are only so many mutations in each area. In addition, all of the so-called sub-areas within the training field hold weaker creatures the further out from the center of the field they are, so I would say you should be able to handle the first 3 sub-areas as you are right now. Cool. Naruto said with a grin, before he frowned. I only have academy kunai. Those things can't cut worth a damn. Catch. Sarutobi said, tossing a small pouch of real kunai. At Naruto, who caught them easily, you should return any of them that you don't use tomorrow. Alright, arigato, Gigi. Naruto beamed, see you tomorrow then. With that, the walking ball of energy that was Uzumaki Naruto bounced out of the office, strapping the holster to his leg as he walked. That boy always makes me feel drained after he visits me. Sarutobi chuckled as he picked up the form he had been reading before Naruto turned up. Now, what's this? Turn the training fields into farmland. Are they stupid? Denied. Not long afterwards. Training field 13 entrance. Naruto stared up at the large gate that was the only way into the training field. It was rusted and looked like it could fall apart in a stiff breeze. Better tell Gigi about that. Naruto muttered before he remembered the windows that had popped up after he had ran from the Hokage's office. Congratulations. The 4th principal, quest completed. You have acquired 1 piece of information regarding the Hiraishin in the 4th Hokage. Quest reward, plus 600 XP, random jutsu scroll, see inventory, plus 250 reputation with. Bonus objective completed. Acquire a piece of information regarding both of the trademark jutsu of the Yondaime. Bonus objective reward, plus 200 XP, basic Fuinjutsu scroll. Nice. Naruto cheered. Wait, this means your level has gone up by 1. Level 5 to level 6. You have 5 attribute points to spend. Naruto knew exactly what he was going to do with the 5 new points. He opened up his status window and added all 5 points into Dex, putting him up to 19. Satisfied with this, he then turned his attention to his inventory and pulled out the jutsu scroll he had received as a reward for the 4th principal quest. You have received the Doden Gansetsuken no Jutsu scroll. Do you wish to learn this? YN. Alright, a jutsu for my earth clones to use. Naruto cheered as he pushed the white button, absorbing the scroll and learning the technique. Doden Gansetsuken no Jutsu active LV1, 00.00 EXP. The earth style, rock section cane jutsu is a fairly simple technique. After making the correct hand signs, the user should pick up a stone or rock, which transforms it into a 1.5 meter long staff, which can be used in close combat or thrown at the enemy. At high levels, the user can create multiple staves simultaneously and assail their enemies with them. Hand signs, monkey rat snake. Number of staves created per use, 1. Durability of each stave, 20. Nice. Let's give it a test run. Naruto grinned as he ran through the 3 hand signs, Doden Gansetsuken no Jutsu. He then picked up a rock that was coincidentally lying at the side of the path and was shocked at the speed at which it shot out to a full 1.5 meter long stone staff. Giving it an experimental twirl, Naruto noted absently that it was perfectly balanced. Observe, he said as he looked at the staff intently. Gansetsuken. A stone staff created by the Gansetsuken no Jutsu, it is moderately resilient to damage. Can be used as an improvised thrown weapon with an accuracy penalty -5. Staff. Limited durability points LDP 2020. What the heck is limited durability? Naruto pondered, then rolled his eyes as another window popped up. Limited durability. Unlike with regular weapons, those created by chakra generally do not last very long. The time remaining for a weapon created via a jutsu is determined by its LDP. The higher the LDP is, the longer such weapons will last. LDP will decrease gradually over time and will fall sharply when used for combat purposes. Okay, well that answers that. Naruto muttered. Next, he removed one of the kunai Sarutobi had given him and used observe on it. Standard kunai. A basic kunai used by the shinobi forces of Konohagakure no Sato. It is capable of being thrown and used in close combat with equal ease, although it is more suited to close combat than being thrown. Thrown weapon. LV5. Thrown damage 9. Close combat damage 12. Durability. 40/40ths. Nodding, Naruto slid the weapon back into his holster and re-examined the Gansetsuken, discovering it was down to 18 LDP already. Deciding that he would throw it at the first chakra mutation he saw, Naruto strode towards the gate into the training ground, only stopping when yet another window popped up. Field Dungeon. Welcome to Training Ground 13, also known as the Forest of Silent Contemplation. This is your first time entering a field dungeon. Do you wish to receive a basic tutorial about field dungeons? Why not? Naruto shrugged, hitting Y almost lazily. Field dungeon tutorial. A field dungeon is one of the 2 main dungeon types. A dungeon is an area where you can encounter enemies via random encounters, as well as loot via enemy drops and treasure chests. Field dungeons are situated in open areas, such as light forests, grassland and plains. Enemies include chakra mutations, bandits and the occasional nuke nin. Often a good location for beginners. Regular dungeons are situated within buildings, caves, heavy forests and ruins. Powerful and ancient enemies can be found here, depending on the level of the dungeon. Do not enter a regular dungeon unless you are of the appropriate level. Every dungeon, field or regular, has a minimum level requirement before you can enter it. Training Field 13 Area 1 has the level requirement of LV5+, so anyone who is level 5 or above can enter it. Area 2 is LV6+ and Area 3 is LV7+, so on and so forth. Field dungeons tend to have twisting paths that can be confusing, so a map is available in your inventory once you step into the dungeon so you can track your current location and where you have been. All field dungeons have a field boss. The exact circumstances upon which a field boss will appear can vary greatly. Sometimes you must defeat a specific enemy in order to make it appear. Other times it is by solving a puzzle or killing a set number of enemies. The most usual manner, however, is to reach the boss area. A field boss is the most powerful enemy in the maze and will often be difficult to defeat. If you defeat them, however, the prizes you receive will very much make up for all of the effort. Good luck. Naruto shook his head as his headache made a sudden resurgence at this deluge of information. He really needed to get used to this kind of thing soon, otherwise he'd have a headache all the time. Doing a last-minute check of his kunai and shuriken, Naruto decided to ignore the basic Fuinjutsu scroll, as he wouldn't be able to use it in the training ground. Let's get going, he declared aloud and walked over to the gate and reached out his hand to touch it, causing another window to pop open. Training Area 13. Which area do you wish to enter? Area 1 LV5+. Area 2 LV6+. Area 3 LV7+. Area 4 LV8+. Area 5 LV9+. Area 6 LV10+. Area 7 LV12+. Area 8 LV13+. Area 9 LV14+. Area 10 LV15+. Area 11 LV17+. Area 12 LV18+. Area 13 LV20+. So, there were 13 areas in Training Ground 13, each being more difficult than the last, with the levels jumping slightly higher from Area 6 to Area 7, Area 10 to Area 11 and Area 12 to Area 13. These are the minimum required levels for the different areas. Naruto considered carefully. I think I'll want to be a couple of levels higher for anything above Area 6, just to be on the safe side. Putting the higher levels to one side, Naruto carefully pressed the button indicating Area 1 foot and waited. The window vanished and the rusty gate creaked open ominously, listing slightly now that it was open. Swallowing slightly, Naruto walked through the gate, stone staff held at the ready. As soon as he cleared the gate, it swung shut behind him with a metallic groan. I hate dramatic and ominous ambience. Naruto grumbled as he looked around. Area 1 seemed to be just a continuation of the landscape outside the fence, which wasn't really much of a surprise. Randomly picking a direction, Naruto started moving cautiously through the trees, keeping an eye out for enemies. He recalled that, thanks to his Benton's Blessing perk, he would have no shortage of enemy encounters, so he was first surprised, then irritated when 5 minutes passed without a single enemy showing up. He was getting a bit pissed at that point, when he spotted a chest partially concealed inside a hollow tree stump, which automatically made him suspicious. This situation positively screamed, trap. Seeing no large clumps of undergrowth for any enemies to hide in nearby, Naruto was stumped as to how they could ambush him. Trapdoors, maybe. Shrugging, the blonde shinobi in training decided to go the bold route this time. He walked straight up to the chest and was rewarded by a pair of windows popping up in front of him. Ambush. You have been ambushed from behind by 3 chakra-mutated squirrels. Which was immediately followed by another one. Bloodthirst detected. Immediately behind you. Naruto leapt into the air, somersaulting over his enemies, which were indeed squirrels, but not like any he had ever seen before. These ones were the size of house cats, their buck teeth sharpened to a point and their claws tearing furrows into the soft topsoil as they skidded to a halt. Landing on the ground, he looked at the titles floating above. The mutated beasts' heads. LV4 Rabid Red Squirrel. So, 2 levels below him. An excellent chance to see how he stacked up compared to them. With a grin, Naruto spun the staff in his hands lazily before throwing at the nearest squirrel like a javelin, impaling it before the beast knew to dodge, making it shriek. The other 2 ignored their injured companion and immediately leapt to the attack. Naruto, however, hadn't been idle while the staff had been in midair. Hiko Yoshin Shurikenjutsu. Naruto muttered as he sent a handful of Academy Shuriken flying at the 2 squirrels. One dodged the throwing stars, but the other one took the full brunt of the barrage, slumping to the ground with 2 in its body and a 3rd in its eye. Swiftly drawing a kunai, Naruto neatly sidestepped the charging squirrel and stabbed it in the back of the head. Much to his surprise, the chakra mutant just snarled and swiped at his hand with its claws. Let's try that again, Naruto said with a frown. He attacked this time, stabbing the kunai into the squirrel's neck, making the mutant die at last. He then noticed the 3 windows pop up over the corpses of the rabid red squirrels. Rabid red squirrel defeated. You gained 40 express. After he closed the windows, the bodies of the squirrels dissolved into blue light, leaving behind stuff. When the tutorial had mentioned enemy drops regarding loot, Naruto had expected skins, teeth and the like. Instead, there were 3 neat piles of Ryo notes and a single scroll. Dumbfounded, Naruto picked up one of the notes and compared it to one he drew from his Gama-chan wallet. The 2 were alike, with just enough differentiation between them to see that the one from the monster drop was freshly printed. Hurriedly picking up the notes 500 Ryo and putting them into Gama-chan, he then turned his attention to the scroll. It turned out to be something called a crafting recipe for a spider silk underlay armor. Naruto didn't have the faintest idea what it was talking about, so he put the scroll in his inventory until he could figure out exactly what it was for. The chest contained a silver key called Grand Chest Key Number 1, which was not exactly what Naruto was hoping for. He had kind of wanted a sword or even some armor, but he reminded himself that this was just the first bite at the apple. Over the next half hour or so, Naruto discovered the theme of the area was to search out treasure chests, get ambushed by either rabid red squirrels or gnashing gray squirrels, the later of which were level 5 and were more dogged in their attack than their red counterparts, and then take the treasure. He didn't get any more recipes, just money always welcome, and the occasional cured squirrel fur, of which he wasn't certain what he was going to do with. The chests were a little better, but mostly contained keys for the grand chest, whatever that was, and a bit of extra cash. Currently, Naruto was sat down and taking a break, examining the map of the area as he did so. It looked hand-drawn, with the locations he had discovered chest marked with a star. Currently, he had 4 keys and the map showed that they were in a sort of square position, with 2 of them closer together than the other 2. Could a 5th one be here somewhere? Naruto mused aloud, pointing at a place located upwards and in the center of the 2 key locations furthest apart and across from one another. If one was in that area, that made a pentagram, meaning that the grand chest might appear in the center somewhere, probably along with the field boss. Naruto checked himself over before heading out. Thus far, he hadn't lost much HP, just about 30 points to a surprise attack from a gnashing gray squirrel that popped up when he thought he'd dealt with all of them, and he'd already regenerated that health while resting, so he was good. He hadn't even had to use any of his jutsu, not since that first Gansetsuken, but he knew he'd likely have to use jutsu against the field boss when it turned up. 5 minutes and 5 dead squirrels later, Naruto was removing a key from the last chest, along with a rather odd item to keep in a chest, the blue and white wrapped hilt of a tanto, with part of the blade still attached, but very obviously damaged. It looked like someone had smashed the blade with a hammer or something. Hilt of Toradora. The hilt of the tanto known as Toradora. The blade has been broken, but perhaps not beyond repair by a skilled smith. Was what his observed skill said about it. Naruto waited for a moment and, sure enough, a quest window popped up a couple of seconds later. Quest created. A broken blade can still cut. You have discovered the hilt and what little is left of a tanto called Toradora. Take it to your friend Tenten to see if it can be fixed. Except, YN. Naruto stared at the window, slightly perplexed. This was odd. There was no quest succeed quest failure notices listed. Shrugging, the blonde boy hit Y before placing the hilt and the last key in his inventory and heading to the center of the pentagram formed by the chest locations. This had better be worth it, he grumbled as he picked up a rock so he would be able to use Gansetsuken as soon as he spotted the field boss. Thus far, his Shurikenjutsu, Hiko Yoshin fast draw technique, and beginner's Hokage Taijutsu had all gone up by a couple of levels, so this time he would try and level up his Doden Ninjutsu. He really had to start trying to find some jutsu for his primary futon affinity though. Abruptly, the ground started to shake. Naruto yelped in surprise as he staggered against a nearby tree and looked around for the cause of the earthquake. A large tree erupted from beneath the ground, with an extra large chakra-mutated squirrel clinging to the top of it, with a pair of gnashing gray squirrels at its flank. Huh, so this is a field boss. Naruto mused as he looked up at the monster. It was the size of a Labrador, twice the size of the gnashing gray squirrels. It had burnt orange fur and you could see the rippling muscles beneath it. Naruto checked out the name floating above its head. LV7 Berserk Fox Squirrel. Observed, Naruto whispered. Berserk Fox Squirrel. This beast was infected with a tiny dose of the chakra of the Kyubi no Kitsune during its attack 12 years ago and has grown to monstrous proportions. With no sense of self-preservation, it will attack innocent people until it is dead. Special status. Berserk, feel no pain, iron muscles. Special abilities. Summon minions. Naruto paled as he read on. This thing was using the chakra of the demon fox. If it wasn't stopped, it could hurt people. Like him, he hurriedly examined the 4 unknown buttons. Berserk, passive, active. You are a fierce warrior, lost in a sea of rage and fury. You are granted enhanced strength, endurance and speed at the cost of your sanity and self-preservation instincts. Passively grants +15 STR. Passively grants +15 SPD. Passively grants +15 STA. Passively reduces int by 15. Passively reduces dex by 10. Actively forces you to attack the nearest foe and attack it until it is dead. Actively reduces wis by 15. Costs 50 CP per minute. Feel no pain, passive. Through either pure mental control or sheer rage, you are immune to pain and can tank the strongest of attacks without flinching. Passively raises Santa by 30. Passively renders user immune to the sensation of physical pain. Iron muscles, passive. You have trained extensively, to the point that your muscles are so large and thick that they act as light armor when in combat, albeit to the detriment of your speed. Passively reduces speed by 10. Passively grants an armor value of 10 to all locations except the head. Passively increases STR by 15. Summon minions, active. Letting loose a howl, you can summon subordinates to your aid. Actively summons forth either 2 to 3 rabid red squirrels or 2 gnashing gray squirrels to your aid. Cooldown, 3 minutes. Costs 30 CP to use. Naruto let loose a string of eloquent expletives at this information. He knew that a field boss would be hard, but throwing the chakra of the Kyubi no Kitsune into the mix apparently upped the difficulty level somewhat. Shit. Well, nothing to it but to do it. Naruto said determinedly as he ran through some hand signs. Doden, Iwa Bunshin no Jutsu. This time, rather than UP chucking a rock, Naruto used the earth around him to form the rock clones, 10 of them altogether. Right as the last of them formed, the tree that the boss stood on stopped rising. The berserk fox squirrel let out a high-pitched shriek that set Naruto's teeth on edge and hurt his poor eardrums. 3 rabid red squirrels bounded from other trees and climbed up in front of the field boss, keening and chattering before they all glared at Naruto and his rock clones. Use the Gansatsuken no Jutsu. Naruto ordered swiftly, 5 of you keep the minions busy, the other 5 will be with me and attack the boss. Doden, Gansatsuken no Jutsu. Was the only reply he heard, so Naruto hurriedly used it himself. It was interesting to note that the Iwa Bunshin didn't need a rock in their hands to use the rock section cane jutsu, which made sense as they were made of rock themselves. The boss snarled and the 5 minion squirrels leapt acrobatically to the attack, hopping down branches before launching themselves towards Naruto. 3 thrown Gansatsuken intercepted them, killing one and seriously injuring another, while the rest were forced to scramble to land and dodge the 2 Iwa Bunshin who hadn't thrown their staves. Meanwhile, the berserk fox squirrel wasn't sitting idle. It leapt straight towards Naruto from where it had clutched the top of the tree, a drop of what had to be at least 2 stories. Scatter. Naruto ordered his clones as he leapt to one side, smacking a nearby squirrel on the head with a swipe of his staff as he did so. The clones barely got out of the way before the Labrador-sized chakra mutant slammed onto the ground, kicking up a small dust cloud. Before Naruto or the clones could react, it screeched again and lashed out with its tail and claws, smashing 2 Iwa Bunshin in seconds. Kuso. Naruto cursed. Attack. Don't let it have the time to do anything but defend and dodge. He led by example, stabbing at the snarling monster with his staff, only to be surprised when the squirrel caught it in its teeth and bit down, shattering the stone like rotten wood. His Iwa Bunshin took advantage of Naruto's distraction to stab and smash at the field boss with their staves, while the original Naruto drew a pair of kunai and started slashing and stabbing with them, making the oversized squirrel scream in fury, although it didn't cease its attacks in the slightest. It took another half hour to wear down the berserk fox squirrel. Naruto had to use the Iwa Bunshin no Jutsu at least 4 more times as the damn field boss kept summoning minions to try and overwhelm him and his Bunshin squad, wearing them down and making them crumble into piles of rocks. Not to mention draining his CP like crazy, but thankfully his CP seemed to regenerate fairly quickly. Now though, the large squirrel was clearly on its last legs. Panting hard, with great rents in its fur and flesh, with blood pouring from its many wounds and from its right eye socket, which Naruto had taken out with a lucky throw of a shuriken. Will you just die already, you overgrown stuffed toy? Naruto shouted in frustration as yet another Iwa Bunshin crumbled into rock as a result of a rather strong bite. The berserk fox squirrel roared again as Naruto stabbed it in the side again. Then, an odd red chakra seemed to burst out of the body of the squirrel, covering it entirely and making it look even more feral than it had been previously. What the holy? One clone exclaimed, boss, this looks bad. Ya think? Naruto snarked back, less talking, more attacking. With a roar, the clones threw a barrage of Gansetsuken at the monster, but it moved much faster than before, dodging the stone staves with ease and launching a blistering counterattack. Naruto noted somewhat absently that the injuries suffered by the clones were like being gutted by that was not something he wanted to experience. So, when the last Iwa Bunshin crumbled to pieces, Naruto was quick to make another full set of clones, which used their staves as a temporary way of holding the rabid squirrel off while other clones attacked. Seeing it slump slightly, Naruto charged at the beast with a kunai drawn and ready. The field boss snarled again before staggering up to try and attack him. Not gonna work, Naruto shouted, you can't beat me. You know why? He avoided the rather feeble swipe of the claws and drove the kunai into the monster's neck right up to the hilt, causing blood to spurt from the now gaping maw of the beast. Because I'm gonna be Hokage one day Datbeo. Naruto finished grimly, so I can't lose to the likes of you. With one final ear-piercing scream, the field boss collapsed onto the ground with a loud thump, causing a loud chime to go off and a large window to appear in front of Naruto. Rabid Red Squirrel X12 defeated. You gain 480 EXP. Gnashing Gray Squirrel X8 defeated. You gain 360 EXP. Field Boss Berserk Fox Squirrel defeated. You gain 600 EXP. HP and CP fully restored. Yada. Naruto cheered. Oh, what's this below that? Beginner's Hokage Taijutsu has leveled up. LV4 LV5. As a result of repeated actions, the skill Self-Taught Bojutsu has been created. Self-Taught Bojutsu Passive Active LV1, 00.00 EXP. Bojutsu is the use of the bow staff in combat. While most people use preset styles in order to fight with it, you have created a style all of your own. Nowhere near effective compared to a regular Bojutsu style, this will nevertheless keep you from tripping yourself up over your own feet while using a bow. Passively raises STR by 1%. Passively raises Dex by 2%. Actively raises damage dealt by any staff weapon by 5%. Doden, Iwa Bunshin no Jutsu has leveled up. LV1 LV2. Doden, Gansetsuken no Jutsu has leveled up. LV1 LV2. Shurikenjutsu has leveled up. LV5 LV6. Secondary Earth Affinity has leveled up. LV1 LV2. I'm really getting stronger, Naruto muttered in awe. Oh, right, better grab the loot. In addition to the usual Ryo and occasional cured squirrel furs, Naruto picked up another crafting recipe, this time for a squirrel fur vest, which explained why he kept getting these pesky furs. The big paycheck was found where the carcass of the berserk fox squirrel had been. Not only was there a hefty chunk change 3000 Ryo, there was also a extra large cured squirrel fur as well as a jutsu scroll. You have received the Futon Kaden Shuriken no Jutsu scroll. Would you like to learn this? YN. At last, Naruto grinned and hit Y, letting the jutsu scroll dissolve into blue light and sink into him. Futon Kaden Shuriken no Jutsu Active LV1, 00.00 EXP. The Wind Style. Rotating Shuriken Jutsu is a useful jutsu for increasing the effectiveness of your Shurikenjutsu. By infusing a shuriken with wind-natured chakra, you increase its cutting power. Once a shuriken has been infused, you can manipulate the shuriken to attack your opponents remotely. Actively increases the damage of any infused bladed weapon by 10. Actively allows you to control the infused weapon up to 4 meters away. Hand signs. None. Number of weapons that can be infused and manipulated. 2. Costs 25 CP per weapon, per minute. Kick ass. No damn hand signs. Naruto cheered, before looking around with a frown. Now where's that damn, grand chest, thingy? As if waiting for him to ask that question, the tree that the field boss had made its entrance on split in two and fell neatly apart, revealing a pair of shinobi sandals. What the hell? Naruto groaned before stomping up to look at them. They were a deep royal blue color with black designs around the ankle that Naruto had to admit were pretty cool looking. Observe, he muttered. Custom battle sandals blue. Standard issue sandals used by all members of the Konohagakure shinobi forces. This pair has been customized for training the tree climbing skill, granting an additional 10% XP when practicing the exercise. Def plus 10. Durability, 50-50. Nice, but not what I was looking for. Naruto remarked as he picked them up and put them in his inventory. A note was lying on the floor. To the shinobi who defeated the fox squirrel. My compliments. You have passed the first hurdle, but do not become complacent. Many harder tasks await you in the other areas. If you wish to open the grand chest, you must gather not only the 5 keys currently in your possession, but the chakra pass from area 6 to allow you entry to the room in which it is kept. And the chest, await you in area 13. The Forest Lord. Who the hell is this, Forest Lord, guy? Naruto moaned. Well, no use standing around like an idiot. On to the next area. With that, Naruto charged off to the exit of the area, leaving the note to fade into dust behind him.
That's all for today. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the story. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.